So good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Unlike Madam Selena, I did have a few tears there, so I am I'm getting myself together as I stand before you. But I first want to acknowledge and say thank you to each and every one of you all that are here today. It means a lot for you to show your love. There are a lot of places that you could have been on a Friday morning, snowing in Chicago, and you chose to be here with us. And so we say thank you from the bottom of our hearts. I am also honored to acknowledge the leadership that is both here in this room and those who are still with us in spirit. As I look out in the audience, I reflect back to what had to be about 2005. I was sitting in a quaint building on 84th and Stony Island because I had been asked that day by my then boss to accompany her to a meeting so I could take notes. I remember walking in and being greeted by none other than Madam Joyce Gibson, Madam Diane Simmons, Madam Diane Odell, who is actually at a closing this morning, and of course, Big Brother Ron Branch, who at that time I believe was our national president. There were, this is my mom in the front. So she's still guiding me and telling me what to do. Okay. And I still listen. There were other board members who were present in that room that morning. But what I remember most about my first encounter was being young and curious and intrigued by this distinguished group of Black real estate professionals that I had up until this point not heard of. I stayed engaged for a while, and then as life's distractions would have it, I ventured off into my own career, my own world, and somehow I became a little bit disconnected. That's just the truth. Don't get me wrong, I would check in from time to time. I peek my head in a meeting. I show up at an event, but I wasn't quite ready to fully commit. You see, there was something else that I had learned about these amazing, strong, Black real estate professionals. They were serious. They were serious about the mission of the organization. They were committed to a cause that extended beyond themselves, that extended beyond their own personal endeavors and their careers. They were driven, they were smart, but they were serious. They could give you a look that would put you in your place in one moment and then embrace you with a hug that you knew they genuinely loved you. As I stand here today, some 15 years later, I realize that life has a mysterious way of bridging gaps. As God would have it, I learned early on that writing my goals down was pretty important, and so I completely began this process of each year I write down goals, and I strive to do certain things. And in 2014, I wrote down, join a professional organization. Well, that didn't happen. So in 2016, I got a little bit more specific, and given some influence of some work colleagues, I actually wrote down, join WCR, and some of our friends from the Women's Council of Realtors are here with us in the room today. Interestingly enough, I didn't quite join that organization either. What did happen in 2017 is that I would meet the amazing, dynamic, witty, talented, driven, I could go on and on and on about my sister, Madam Selena Jones, and here I am today. Once again, what I'll share with you is that life has a mysterious way of bridging gaps. So the question that I am before you today to raise is, if life is really a mystery at all, what if we were all placed here at this specific time, on this specific part of our journey to continue to help bridge gaps? It's no accident that the homeownership rate in Black community lags those behind every other community. Today, we're actually going to receive some quite exciting news that the rate from 2016 at 41% has actually increased to a whopping 44%. There's still bridges to gap. It's not an accident that according to the Urban Institute, African Americans on average have about $19,000 in liquid retirement savings. as compared to some of our Anglo-Saxon friends who have about $130,000 in liquid savings. There are still bridges that we need to gap.
Amen.
It's no accident that the Economic Policy Institute recently shared data that, on average, for us beautiful, beloved chocolate folks in the room, we have about an average wealth of about $11,000. That's in comparison to our vanilla brothers and sisters that have, on average, about $95,000. I recently read an article that really scared and made me nervous because it said that black wealth is actually expected to fall to zero by the year of 2053. We're here, guys, to bridge some gaps. So how do we do that? I'm honored to work alongside the women who have raised their hands this year to serve in leadership. Even before taking their oath today, they've already begun the work, and I thank you for joining me in that. There are others of you who I made personal phone calls to, and I asked you to continue the journey with me. And to you, I say thank you for continuing to stand by my side. I'm forever indebted to each and every one of you. And what I know is that we can't do the work alone. We can't change the trajectory of our communities with just us. So I personally believe that each and every one of you all that are here today was meant to help us bridge some gaps. There's still a lot of work to be done. That you're actually here shows your commitment to not only us in the room, but to a greater calling. So as the Realtist Women's Council of Illinois 2020, we've already set some great goals. We've actually got a goal to educate 2,020 families this year on home ownership and financial literacy. We'll continue to expand the hard hats and heels conversation, which is one of economic development for us and by us, as we continue to bridge the gaps. We also have our Mad Hatter Women of Excellence and Scholarship Brunch that we will continue to work on, again, bridging the gaps. But then we've also added a few new endeavors. As Madam Stanina Jones eloquently said, we've got to make some footprints of our own as well. So we are going to start an initiative called Adopt a Ward, where we go out and we become visible to our aldermen and our alderwomen and our community residents, because we know that there are some gaps that need to be filled right in our own backyards. We're also starting a Women of Excellence monthly success call, and if you've missed the first one, it is an opportunity for us as women who pour out so much as mothers, as women, as sisters, as wives, as partners, to go out and be able to have a call that's just for us, where we can be transparent and vulnerable, and even talk about the things that we don't know. So we invite you to join us in that as well. And of course, we have our monthly coffee talks. Those are our membership meetings. That's where you get to come in and plug in with us. Stay in the know. See what we're up to. Figure out what your place is in helping us to bridge the gap. So the question before you today is, how will you bridge the gap? Will you take some time to mentor someone who's newer in the business? Will you grab a cup of coffee with someone who has double your experience and knowledge? Will you make an honest attempt to do business with someone in this room that you may not have ever done business with before? Will you comfort a colleague or a close family member when they lost someone that means something to them? Will you help us teach financial literacy classes, or involve yourself in our community days, or show up at a Hard Hats and Heels or a Mad Hatters? But most importantly, will you look back in 15 years and be able to see the footprints of the work that you've done? Will someone be able to acknowledge you for helping them even when they didn't know that you were there, helping them to bridge a gap? Thank you so very much.